the headlines at this hour on VTV News. Vietnam and Yunnan, China aim to boost bilateral trade to $5 billion. And Vietnam's economic outlook show more positive signs. In our world news, we get updates on the U.S. election and how vote counting continues in key states.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi, and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyen Trân with the top stories. The Politburo and the Secretariat convened a meeting on Wednesday morning, bringing together our former party and state leaders to gather feedback on draft documents for the upcoming 14th Party Congress. Party General Secretary To Lam chaired the meeting. He noted that preparations for the January 2026 Congress have begun early, building on the foundation laid by the late Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng. The party leader emphasized that the draft documents must reflect the collective wisdom of the entire party, people, and military. The document's overarching theme is to propel the country forward in a new era, leveraging a momentum from historical achievements and the nation's current power, position, and prestige. During the meeting, former party and state leaders offer valuable insights on several key reports, including the political report, socio-economic report, report on party building, and the 40-year renewal summary report. Now, during his official visit to China, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính met with Wang Ning, Secretary of the Yunnan Provincial Party Committee in Yunnan on Wednesday morning. The two sides discussed various cooperation measures to improve bilateral trade.
Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh expressed his gratitude to Yunnan's party committee, government, and agencies for their close and effective cooperation in flood discharge management, helping Vietnam mitigate damage from Typhoon Yagi. The Vietnamese Prime Minister proposed that Yunnan lead efforts to implement high-level shared understandings and joint declarations, as well as enhance exchanges with Vietnamese provinces. He emphasized the important goal of raising bilateral trade between Vietnam and Yunnan to $5 billion. Additionally, the Prime Minister urged the establishment of Yunnan and Lao Cai as central hubs for trade between China and ASEAN. In response, Secretary Wang Ning committed to collaborating with Vietnam's ministries and localities to implement the high-level agreements between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Vietnamese Party General Secretary To Lam, as well as the directives and proposals of Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh. He also stressed the importance of optimizing existing cooperation mechanisms and improving infrastructure connectivity between the two countries through both rail and road networks.
Lawmakers continued their debate on the amended draft law on public investment during the 15th National Assembly's ongoing 8th session in Hanoi on Wednesday. More in the following.
The draft law has been held by deputies and the public. Its regulations on decentralization and delegation of authority provide clear roles and responsibilities, facilitating easier supervision of the work.
For projects spanning 2 or more provinces, it is necessary to assign the Ministry of Planning and Investment to coordinate with the provinces involved. This would unify the selection of the Provincial People's Committee as the managing body to report to the Prime Minister for review and approval.
The process in which local people's councils approve investment policies and then the chairman of the People's Committee makes the investment decision is very rigorous. I propose keeping the authority of the People's Council as stipulated in the current law.
A mechanism to control power is needed. I believe this process helps prevent potential risks. The People's Council can also introduce unique solutions to address specific local challenges.
Many deputies also proposed specifying regulations on separating the land clearance process into independent projects.
The draft law should detail the procedures for separating the land clearance process into an independent project.
Article 5, Clause 1, mentions that in truly necessary cases, compensation and resettlement for the land clearance process can be separated into an independent project. I suggest clarifying what qualifies as truly necessary and whether it should be an independent project or a sub-project.
In the afternoon, legislators will discuss a draft law amending and supplementing several articles in the law on planning, the law on investment, the law on investment under public-private partnership, and the law on bidding.
The General Statistics Office has just released its economic and social report for the first 10 months, showing a strong growth across most sectors compared to the same period last year. Now, in October and throughout the past 10 months, Vietnam's economy maintained a positive growth trajectory, highlighted by a total trade turnover exceeding $647 billion, up nearly 16% year-on-year. Notably, exports saw a strong rise, contributing to a trade surplus of over $23.3 billion. Macroeconomic stability and an improved business environment facilitated foreign direct investment (FDI) disbursements, growth in the Industrial Production Index, and industrial employment. As a result, state budget revenue for the 10-month period reached $65.8 billion and is approaching the full-year revenue target. Effective price control also kept the average consumer price index at just a 3.78% increase year-on-year. Meanwhile, total retail sales of goods and consumer service revenue is estimated to surpass $214 billion. Now, over 136,000 new businesses have been established in the past 10 months, up nearly 2% compared to the same period last year, according to the Business Registration and Management Department. Most of these businesses are in the service sector, accounting for nearly 76%, followed by industry and construction. The total registered capital for these businesses is $54.17 billion, a rise of more than 4% from last year. In the past 10 months, the total value of goods passing through Lào Cai border gate exceeded $3 billion, an increase of nearly 70% compared to the same period last year. At the Kim Thành 2 land border gate, Vietnamese agricultural products dominate exports, accounting for over 90%. According to businesses, there remains substantial potential for exporting to the Yunnan market, China, particularly for Vietnam's key fruits. Lào Cai has been focusing on improving infrastructure, advancing digital transformation, and reducing clearance times to fully support businesses involved in trade activities. The new housing law has eased conditions for purchasing social housing, making it more accessible for home buyers. These favorable conditions have also motivated investors to join in and release more projects to the market. However, several social housing projects still face challenges.
Situated in the middle of a densely populated residential area in Hanoi, this plot of land was originally intended for a housing project aimed at providing affordable homes for low-income police officers. That was over 10 years ago. The city is now reviewing plans to convert it into a social housing project with 77 flats. Over time, the land has become home to trees and an impromptu garbage dump, affecting nearby residents.
I have lived here for 40 years. I hope the project will be implemented soon.
There are still 3 to 4 households blocking the road, making it too narrow. We propose that the local authorities coordinate with investors to find a solution so the project can proceed.
A representative from Hanoi's Department of Construction reported that the city has 69 social housing projects either underway or in the pipeline. Officials are compiling and reviewing the challenges of each project to find solutions, aiming to increase the overall supply of social housing.
Selecting investors is challenging. Hanoi has proposed reforms to streamline administrative procedures and reduce the time it takes to select investors for quicker implementation.
Hanoi requires that 25% of land in commercial housing development projects be allocated for social housing. However, in recent times, many projects have faced delays. If effective solutions are implemented, the supply of social housing could significantly improve.
Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate of today, November 6. Coming up next on VTV News. Farming incentives during a flood season generate positive changes. And military doctors support ethnic people's health care. Now moving on to other news, heavy rainfall in Quảng province on Tuesday led to widespread disruptions, including flooding in 18 areas. More than 900 households, totaling nearly 3,500 people, were isolated in the mountainous regions. One person was reported as missing. The rainfall also caused significant flooding on over 50 roads, with several underpasses and bridges in the districts of Minh Hóa and Tuyên Hóa submerged. In response to the flooding, authorities have set up warning signs, barricades, and deployed personnel to prevent residents from attempting to cross submerged areas. And to ensure safety, over 1,000 people have been evacuated from the affected zones and relocated to safer areas. Authorities are continuing to monitor the situation and provide assistance to those affected by the severe weather. Authorities in Thừa Thiên Huế province have successfully evacuated nearly 100 people from landslide-prone areas. The provincial military command has instructed Phú Lộc commune to monitor the situation closely, deploy standby forces, and set up warning signs to keep residents away from danger zones. Officials have urged residents not to return home until it's declared safe. This evacuation follows several days of heavy rainfall, which caused a 50-meter-long, nearly a 4-meter-deep crack to form on a Phú Gia mountain, posing a significant threat to the lives and property of those living at the foot of the mountain. Now, in recent years, drought, saltwater intrusion, and landslides have severely affected rice production in the Mekong Delta. In response, the Vietnamese government introduced Resolution 120, which focuses on sustainable development to adapt to climate change. This policy discourages expanding the third rice crop and instead encourages farmers to adapt by raising fish in flooded fields during the rainy season.
Rising water levels have ushered in a new farming season for farmers in flood-prone areas. Shifting from tradition, many like Phie have joined cooperatives, opting to store fish rather than catch and sell them daily. Farmers with fields contribute land, while others provide labor and equipment to care for the fish until they reach a profitable size.
This approach is generally more sustainable. We adhere to regulations when catching fish. This isn't the case in other areas, though. Small fish are caught using electric guns. During these flood seasons, fish stocks are abundant, so they fetch a modest price. During these carefully planned harvests, they fetch higher prices.
In Tam Nong district, this model provides income from aquaculture and unlocks new opportunities for ecotourism. Visitors can experience the unique lifestyle of the Mekong Delta during the flood season.
Efforts to boost tourism here aim to increase commune residents' income. All the guides are members of our cooperative, true farmers from the community.
Raising fish in post-harvest rice fields transforms lives by aligning livelihoods with natural weather patterns. This approach offers both economic benefits and ecological restoration. It represents a strategic shift towards sustainable agriculture, helping the Mekong Delta adapt to the challenges of climate change.
In recent times, a project aimed at enhancing vocational education for rural workers, especially ethnic groups, has been implemented nationwide. In Lâm Đồng province, vocational training has attracted many ethnic workers from low-income and near-poor households.
On weekends, a group of young people from the Toll village attend a veterinary training class. This is the first year Damrum District has included this subject in its vocational training for ethnic groups.
I am currently farming and hope to learn from this course to increase my income and better support my community.
Another popular course is silkworm farming, a profession with economic stability and considered one of the district's main agricultural sectors.
I used to learn about silkworm farming from a few local families. Now, I know how to identify damaged cocoons and the best times for drying them.
From 2022 to 2024, with funding from national target programs, Damrum District has allocated over $118,000 to organize 51 vocational training classes, covering both agricultural and non-agricultural sectors for nearly 1,000 ethnic participants. In 2024 alone, more than 320 students attended 16 classes across 6 different professions.
Once students complete their courses, they gain specific skills, receive a basic vocational certificate, and can apply what they've learned to daily lives.
The district will continue to support residents by providing better access to National Target Program funds to help them use resources effectively and improve their quality of life.
Almost 100% of trainees can find stable jobs with good incomes after the courses. This has led to a notable decrease in Damrum District's multidimensional poverty rate, which fell to 11.6% in 2023. The district aims to further reduce this to about 7.2% by the end of 2024 as part of its rural development goals.
Officers and military personnel of the 379th Economic Defense Unit in Điện Biên Province work tirelessly to help locals in remote border regions. And among them, the medics deserve special mention. Throughout their dedication and wholehearted efforts, they have become like a second family to the local people. More in the following.
During heavy rains and landslides, roads to remote villages become even more challenging, turning into muddy pathways. But once villagers call, medics never fail to respond.
When I first arrived, there were no pumps, so we had to fetch water from the well. Roads were not as convenient as they are now. I couldn't return home very often.
My hometown is about 500 kilometers from here. On sunny days, it's okay, but when it rains, there are landslides. During such times, with no vehicles able to reach this area, we have no choice but to walk. Sometimes, we have to walk 2 to 3 kilometers to remote villages.
Villagers in the area has no experience with modern medicine or doctors. They rely solely on herbal remedies and shamanic rituals to treat illnesses.
Whenever people were sick or in pain, they wouldn't go to the hospital. They would stay at home and invite a shaman or spiritual healer to treat them.
In over 20 years in this profession, what I remember most is a young woman, just 18 years old, who gave birth prematurely. It was her first pregnancy. After she safely gave birth to a 3.4 kilogram baby, I was overjoyed and thankful.
These medics are always ready for emergencies, providing medical care and educating people on hygiene and proper nutrition. They have helped locals gradually abandon outdated practices.
When the elderly or children are sick, we go to the clinic. If we stay home, we'll never get better.
In the old days, when there was no clinic, we had to do rituals. Now every time my parents are sick or in pain, they receive treatment.
When patients come, they bring sticky rice or sometimes a chicken tucked under their arm, wanting to offer it to the doctors, but too shy to give it. Sometimes it's just a bottle of wine. These are very sincere gestures.
They often invite me to their homes to drink wine. I can't drink, but I go because I want the people to trust and love me more.
From their passionate youth to now, their faces bear the marks of highland winds, yet their ethics and dedication to the profession remains unchanged. Their feet still walk tirelessly from dawn to dusk as they continue treating people.
A program to introduce Vietnamese tourism in China officially began in Kunming City, Yunnan Province, on Monday. The program aims to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and China and the Vietnam-China Humanitarian Exchange Year in 2025.
This is the main hall of the Yunnan Grand Theater in China, where 48 photographic works on Vietnam's heritage, culture, tourism are displayed. The photos cover themes such as Vietnam, Land of Wonderful Heritage, Vietnam, Paradise of Global Biosphere Reserves, Vietnam, Land of Human Memory, and Vietnam, Home to Intangible World Heritage.
I find Vietnam's landscape very beautiful, and it has a lot of tourism potential. Chinese people really like to visit Vietnam.
The highlight of the festival is an art exchange program themed Together Hand in Hand, with Sincere Hearts Forever. Some songs were performed by artists from both countries, bringing a wide range of emotions to the audience. Tourism businesses from both countries also had the opportunity to meet and connect. This contributed to enhanced destination networking, the development of tour packages, and fostering two-way tourism cooperation.
Many Chinese businesses have reached out to us to develop tour packages in Vietnam. This event holds tremendous significance for companies on both sides.
We have great confidence and expectations that this event will leave a positive impact on the partnership between Vietnam and China, not only in tourism but also in culture, the economy, and society.
Following the event in Yunnan, the Vietnam Tourism Promotion Program in China will continue in Chongqing on Friday. This aims to strengthen cooperation with various provinces and localities in China, targeting high-spending visitors traveling by air.
Coming up next in our world news, we update on the U.S. election and how vote counting continues in key states. An Israeli Prime Minister fires defense minister. Now moving on to our world news. Polls have closed and vote counting is underway in most of the key states in the United States 2024 presidential election. Now, according to Reuters, as of 2:20 p.m. Vietnam time, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump won 266 electoral votes, gaining an upper hand in the race. Meanwhile, the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is closing in on the gap with 194 electoral votes. Additionally, Donald Trump has won 3 battleground states, namely Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina. Trump and Harris each need at least 270 out of 538 electoral votes to win the presidency. And as of earlier November 4th Vietnam time, more than 78 million U.S. citizens have cast early votes in this year's election. This election has set a new record for campaign spending with a whopping $16 billion. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fired Defense Minister Yoav Gallant on Tuesday, citing a loss of confidence in Gallant's management of Israel's ongoing military operations in Gaza. And in a statement, Netanyahu said mutual trust had eroded beyond repair. Shortly after, Gallant confirmed he was relieved from his post, attributing it to his public opposition to the Israeli government's handling of the Gaza conflicts. Netanyahu's decision garnered approval among right-wing members of the government, but faced backlash from opposition politicians. Snow finally fell on Mount Fuji this Wednesday, November 6, marking the latest arrival of snow since comparative data became available in 1894. Photographs taken from various vantage points around Mount Fuji revealed a light dusting of snow on its peak. Typically, Japan's iconic mountain experiences its first snowfall in early October. However, the absence of snow on Mount Fuji as of October 29th broke the previous record set on October 26, 2016, according to meteorological officials. This year's delayed formation of Mount Fuji's snowcap could be indicative of climate change's adverse effects. In the remote town of Guduga in northwestern New South Wales, the local groundwater is hot and often unpalatable. This has led many residents to rely on bottled water and sugary drinks. However, an innovative solution has emerged at the local school. Hydro panels now produce 50 liters of high-quality drinking water daily, sourced directly from the air.
The hydropanels, which harvest moisture from the atmosphere and use solar energy to convert it into liquid form, are revolutionizing the way the town sources its drinking water.
So the core technology is actually a material that can passively suck water out of the air. So we use heat from the sun to create hot air, and we use that to increase the dew point. So we effectively use material and heat to create clean, drinkable water from the air. It comes out distilled, and then we add in calcium and magnesium.
The system was installed at Guduga Public School in 2019 as part of a government pilot program. The system, which includes 10 hydropanels, now produces more than 50 liters of fresh drinking water daily. This is considered an improvement for a region that traditionally relies on bore water, which, though safe to drink, is often unappealing.
Summer is very hot. So we are averaging 40, 42 degrees a day. You know, if you're not hydrated properly, it leads to fatigue, it leads to, can lead to sickness, and that can lead to staff not being at school, students not being at school, and that's why we really push to make sure that our students are hydrated.
The hydropanel technology, developed over the past 7 years in Scottsdale, Arizona, a region known for its extreme dryness, has been tested in various parts of the world. The panels use a unique material capable of absorbing moisture from the air, turning it into drinkable water through solar-powered conversion.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.